This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting was included in a list of meeting dates sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on January 7th, 2016, and was posted on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue on January 7th, 2016, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to my left and to my right. If you come up to speak, please speak directly into the microphones, and assistive listening devices are available. Ms. Cantor, would you join us, would you lead us please in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Brill Mittler,
Here.
Councilman Erickson,
Here.
Councilman Fine,
Here.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin.
Here.
Councilman George,
Here.
Councilman Walsh,
Here.
Councilwoman Welkowitz,
Here.
Borough Administrator,
Here.
Borough Attorney.
Here.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular and conference meetings held February 2nd, 2016, February 16th, 2016, March 1st, 2016, March 15th, 2016, April 5th, 2016, and the special meeting held March 23rd, 2016, as distributed.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Erickson,
Yes.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin.
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Walsh,
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz.
Yes.
All right. So as many of you have heard me say over the last year, we have a fund that has been donated to by many, many of our residents. It's called the Highland Park Gives a Hoot Fund. And I want to tell you that over the last 2 years, we have done many good things for our children, including distributing over 350 lunches to our Highland Park students when school was not in session. And we could not have done that, actually, without the help of our volunteers and the folks over at Elijah's Promise. And tonight we have with us Mr. Jim Zulo from Elijah's Promise, and I am honored to present him with a plaque and a proclamation of great thankfulness for everything your organization has done for us and our children in Highland Park. Thank you, Jim. Elijah's Promise has been a wonderful neighbor. You care so much about everything that you do and all of your folks over there, and we greatly appreciate it. Having been able to feed 350 children over the last couple of years is because of everything your organization helped us do. So I want to thank you for that. And whereas Elijah's Promise is an important community asset, and whereas Elijah's Promise provides meals for those in need, whereas Elijah's Promise provided lunches for the youth in Highland Park when school was not in session, and whereas the contribution to our community is invaluable to our youth, and whereas the mayor and council recognize the generous service provided by Elijah's Promise, now, therefore, I, Gail Brill Mittler, Mayor of the Borough of Highland Park, do recognize Elijah's Promise for their service and contributions to the needs of our young residents in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to say a few words?
Sure. Well, I just want to very much, we're honored to work with Highland Park in this initiative. Obviously poverty and hunger is rampant throughout our state, and it's within our community, so it's a real pleasure to work with Highland Park to address some of these needs. And I just want to also recognize that, Highland Park and so many of its residents are very strong supporters of Elijah's Promise, and we're great to have you as part of our community. We're very happy to be part of your community and have you as part of our family as well. So thank you for this award, and we'll continue working this year. So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great meeting.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you again.
Okay.
Okay, can we just mention, okay. Recently, Highland Park lost a longtime resident. Her name was Gail Highsmith. She's sister to Sheila Highsmith, who many of you may know from her long time involvement with the community. I just wanted to recognize Gail for the wonderful person she was. We will all miss her, and I want to thank the Highsmith family for sharing her with us. Council reports. Councilwoman Foster Dublin.
Thank you, Mayor. It works. Real briefly, we have a lot to be thankful for and to celebrate. We just celebrated National Night Out, and that was a huge success this year. We've always had great turnouts in the past, and it has continued to grow, and with our volunteers that came out from the CERT team, all of public safety that was there, the first aid squad, fire department, CERT, OEM, and our police officers, and it just made it a wonderful night for all residents of Highland Park and for those who stopped in to visit us. We actually raised this year $865, so go Highland Park. We're doing something. We're giving our people that come to visit us are giving back, so that was a nice thing that we raised $865. Also, we received a letter from one of our residents that was also very pleased with our National Night Out, and it reads, "Please convey to the police department that they did a great job at National Night Out. They are to be commended. We are so fortunate to live in a town with such involved and caring police department." And that was written by Linda Diamond. So just to show you a little bit of how much our police department and our first responders are appreciated here in town. On another note, that the police department received this month their body-worn cameras, so it's going to be a phased-in program, but they have their body-worn cameras that you'll see some of our officers when they go out to make a call, they'll have that camera now. So we're happy that we did receive that grant and that the cameras are here and it will be phased in over time. On a sad note, we did have a fire at South Adelaide in Highland Park, and again, our fire department was on scene with all first aid, fire, police, and we want to thank all those that came in to provide mutual aid during that fire and responded and made sure that there was no loss of life. Unfortunately, there was much damage to the property, but no life was lost, and we're grateful for that. And again, a big shout out and thank you to all our first responders that responded to that fire. Last but not least, we received another letter congratulating our police department again, and it's from Congregation Orthora And it says, Dear Chief Risco, on behalf of Congregation Orathara, we wish to express our strong support and appreciation of our Highland Park Police Department and all our nation law enforcement officers. With recent events across the country, included the tragic murders of 5 police officers in Dallas, we know that this has been a trying week for the law enforcement community, and we are deeply appreciative of the wonderful work that your department does for us and for all of the officers who put their lives on the line daily to keep us safe and to protect us. Thank you for keeping our community safe. So that's one letter, and it was signed by Rabbi Yaakov Lubin, Rabbi Israel Rufkin, and Jeffrey Klein. So again, it just goes to show the great work that our Highland Park Police Department is putting in place, and our first responders in keeping us all safe. That's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Fine.
I don't have a report, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I would like to start off by congratulating the 2016 Senior Citizen Art Contest winners from Highland Park. We actually had 4 members place in this contest. Cynthia Walling, her piece, Trist, the Sad Lady, got first in pastels. Ellen Rebarber, her piece, Illuminating Inspiration, was first place in sculpture. And Anne Perleus got first place in acrylics with ladders, and Robert Perleus got second place with Donaldson Park Fall 2015 in acrylics. So congratulations and thanks for their participation and making Highland Park proud. Folks are actually able to continue seeing these pieces. They're exhibiting now at Middlesex County College through August 11th. So you can see these winners and other winners at Middlesex County College, and so hopefully you can take an opportunity to go and see these great exhibits and the talent that Highland Park is bringing forward from our seniors. Also in art news, Art Commission meeting will be happening August 25th. We'll be discussing arts in the park and creating an art inventory in the borough, and tonight the council will actually be considering 2 appointments to the Art Commission, Pandora Scooter and John Marin, and I hope the council decides to approve their nominations to the committee tonight. The New Jersey Senior Olympics Challenge is coming up September 9th, 10th, and 11th, and I want to encourage all of our seniors to register and compete in the 2016 Senior Olympic Games. These are going to be taking place in Woodbridge Township, and last year the games were a tremendous success with over 1,200 participants, and so for those of you who aren't seniors, you should come and cheer on the seniors who will be participating in that event, and we'll see Highland Park made proud again. We also have a number of fall rec activities that registration is opened up for now, and it's a very long list of senior and youth activities, and so I'll go through this very briefly, but we have chess classes that are going to be happening once a week for 5 weeks at the Senior Center and Youth Center, theater program for 8 to 16-year-olds, which no experience is necessary for that program, and there'll be a great place to explore dramatic and musical talent within that. There's also really exciting, the Juggling Club will be meeting once a week for 5 weeks for 8 to 16-year-olds. And we're going to be starting the flag football pilot program this year in the fall. It'll be the first time we're running this program. All the students who participate in that will actually get an NFL jersey for that program. It's a 5 versus 5 non-contact activity. It's just fast-paced and really learning the basics of the sport. Also, table tennis will be coming up Sundays for kids 12 and up from September through November. And fall soccer is going to be kicking off too. And with the soccer program, there's actually going to be 4 clinics that are offered by Spencer Rockman from the Rovers, and which is really exciting. The adult recreation program will be offering turf soccer once a week for 10 weeks. We also will have Tai Chi classes for 10-week sessions. And then we also have men's basketball for 30 and over will be starting in the fall in September. Israeli dance will be occurring with classes once a week for 10 weeks. This program is actually rises from Jewish and religious and cultural celebrations that were developed in the Jewish diaspora. There's Israeli folk dance, combines circle dances and line dances, and dance attire that resembles that which you'd see in Eastern Europe. Large groups of people, it can be done. Folks should come out and check it out. It's a great cultural experience and a great way to learn how to do some great fun dancing. Volleyball programs will be starting for 10 weeks at the Borough School gym, and Fitness for All will be happening for 10 weeks. All of these programs, you can register for them on the Highland Park website under Recreation Services registration forms, or you can go to the Senior and Youth Center, with the exception of the football program. The football program, you have to go to AIFLAG.com, so AIFlag.com. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councilman George.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to point out that, and thank you very much to the police for inviting me. I volunteered to work at National Night Out thinking I would be handing out hot dogs. I was told by Lieutenant Panicella that morning to wear a suit. They were either going to dunk politicians or tar and feather them. I opted for the dunking. But I was very proud for the fact that with the formula we worked out, we were able to raise a large part of what was there. It was a lot of fun. The only person I couldn't get to, I couldn't quite get enough vindictiveness in the mayor's eyes. But my wife took over for that. She kept paying $10. If you paid $10, you get to punch the thing. I went right in the water. And it was chilly that night if you were soaking wet. With regard to the parking group that we're meeting again next week, we are going to begin to look at and make recommendations, again, not as professionals, but as citizens, looking at the parking provisions that are in the master plan revision, the redevelopment ordinance, and the zoning ordinance and the residential site improvement standards. Everybody has those. This group has been reading all the work that we're putting together on parking. We probably have over 500 pages now with regard to parking, and they're doing great work. We hope to wrap up, we're looking to wrap up hopefully with a public meeting and a presentation by two executive directors of parking authorities in either late October or mid-November. I met tonight with the Highland Park, the Main Street Highland Park Promotions Committee, which had several of the board members. They canceled their meeting in August traditionally because of vacations. First, with regard to Main Street, congratulations to Target Art Supply, which is open. I just missed it the other day. I was trying to stop by. I needed to pick up some new acrylics. I filled the space that's occasionally used by the Democratic Committee, and I wish them great luck. It's another good thing. Movie night, the next movie night is Saturday, August 13th. It will be the movie Give Me Shelter. There'll be an extra special movie night on August 27th. The beer garden that had been planned for Farmers Market 2 weeks ago was moved because of the threat of severe thunderstorms. So it just happened to conveniently work out to be that night as well. The movie apparently is getting a lot of buzz. It's Spirited Away, which is an anime film, but apparently there's huge interest in going to see this. So that's the closing night of the movie season. We look forward to that. Their window art project will be September, all of September, culminating on September 17th. They've coordinated a number of artists and stores to display artists' art in store windows and get people walking and looking on the street, culminating on the 17th, which is also the first day of our townwide yard sale, that the artists themselves will be donating the tour. So it sounds like an interesting new thing. With regard to redevelopment agency, their recommendations to consider the area in need of rehabilitation, I believe is tentatively agendaed for the planning board on Thursday night. Asked for a verification on that, and I believe it is on for Thursday, sorry. And I urge everybody to come out, as I always do, to see the nuts and bolts of what's going on in town. The planning board, the zoning board, the redevelopment agency, and Main Street have a lot to do with the actual look and feel of things on the street level, and it's important that we keep track of that. The Planning Board, as I believe I mentioned at the last meeting, completed their Sustainable Highland Park submissions. The Rite Aid windows are open for art, which is in large part, a thank you to the Planning Board for considering and working with Rite Aid, but in large part, a thank you to Rite Aid as well. With regard to the zoning board, Mayor, as you know, Ben Buca, who was the zoning board attorney, was recently appointed to the Superior Court out of Warren County, so the RFP is out for a new zoning board attorney. And looking at my list, Your Honor, that is all I have.
Okay. Councilman Erickson?
No report for tonight.
Okay. Council President Welkowitz?
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works and Public Utility Committee has been very busy this season. I'm delighted to announce 5 new programs that we have begun this summer. First, Highland Park will host New Jersey's first bicycle assessment later this month. Much like the school's walkability study, which we completed in the spring, but this time on bicycles. Experts and professionals from the New Jersey Department of Transportation, Rutgers-Blaustein School of Planning, and Keep Middlesex Moving, Borough staff and volunteers will participate. The purpose is to determine bicycle accessibility and possible improvements. I'd like to thank Peter Bilton from Keep Middlesex Moving, Trish Sanchez, and Fern Goodhart from our Complete Streets group. Second, we're coordinating a tree replacement program for the street trees on Raritan Avenue. Special thanks to John Webster for helping us identify the species, and he's a Main Street volunteer. And to Foreman Frank Troy, who'll be taking charge of the program. By the way, all funding from this will be coming from the existing tree fund. Next, we'll be introducing a new campaign called Solar Challenge, which is a new program to help residents and businesses purchase solar panels. The program allows consumers to engage directly with multiple installers and get the best rates possible. And through this, we'll be applying for a $5,000 grant to help us in advertising the program. We'll be advertising for about 8 months. Thanks to Sustainable Highland Park for bringing this to our attention. Next, we will be introducing a new smartphone app called Recycle Coach, and it's to help residents with information on recycling. Our goal is to continue to improve our rate of recycling. The costs to the borough are paid through our Clean Communities grant. And lastly, special thanks to Daniel Larkins of our Environmental Commission, who applied for and was awarded with an Association of New Jersey Environmental Commission grant to start a birding program in town. Our first event will be held, I believe, August 27th, Saturday at the Environmental Center. Alan? 20th, excuse me. Saturday, August 20th at the Environmental Center. I don't know what the time is either. 9 a.m.? 9 a.m. Okay. Hope to see everybody there. We'll have another event come September, and I believe that'll be at the Meadows Trails. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Borough Administrator, do you have a report?
No report, Mayor.
Borough Attorney, do you have a report?
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay. I just want to, for my report, I would just like to add to the wonderful report that Councilman George gave us about downtown and the new art store. There is another new store in town, Sybil's Retro Clothing and Jewelry Store, which is right next to the Turkish Grill. I had the opportunity of visiting that store today for the first time, and what a wonderful place to go in and shop. There are all sorts of estate jewelry there, clothing from the 60s and the 70s, shoes from that period and even earlier. Lots of fun things to see. There's artwork. So I highly recommend everyone getting a chance to go in and take a look at Sybil's retro shop. Okay, Clerk, would you report on the introduction of drug-free school zone ordinance amendment for consideration of passage on first reading by title?
An ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Highland Park, Chapter 169, Article 1, drug-free school zones, has been introduced in writing by the Public Safety Committee for consideration and passage on first reading by title.
All right, may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on first reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Erickson?
Yes.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then, is there any public discussion? Anybody like to come up and talk? Okay. Yes? No? Yes, okay. Please come up to the microphone, give us your name and address.
My name is Pandora Scooter. My address is 235 Dennison Street, Apartment B. I am here tonight because I understand that the council is considering at some point to take action with regard to gun control. And as a 24-year resident of Highland Park and also a very active member of the LGBT community, and being indirectly affected by the tragedy in Orlando, as well as the other tragedies that have been happening due to gun violence and the availability and accessibility of guns and the ability to carry guns concealed, I am asking the council to very seriously consider taking action similar to that in Highland Park, Illinois, if possible, to protect our citizens and also to make a statement nationwide.
Thank you, Pandora.
Hi, my name is Karen Cantor. I live on 125 Graham Street, and I'm also coordinator for the Brady campaign. And I would like to support the efforts by the Highland Park Council to, within whatever powers they have, to limit the accessibility of guns, ammunition, that those efforts are supported by the council. In particular, right now there is a law amendment, I'm not sure what it's, a law that was passed by the State Assembly concerning serious threats in different neighborhoods, that that you could apply for a that if you were, for example, a pizza person and you wanted to go into a different area and you felt that you were going to be personally threatened, that you were going to be allowed to get a gun permit. Now, the Assembly, the State Assembly, in their wisdom, did not pass that, and so now it is sitting on Governor Christie's desk, and he has not signed it. So I understand that there is something being presented tonight at the city level, and I hope that this will be passed so that we can show across the state that we are in support of restrictions on the accessibility of guns, so that we can have a safer neighborhood, state, and country.
Thank you, Karen.
And also, there was one other thing that
Microphone.
there's one other thing. And this is completely separate from what I just talked about. Is this the time to address it?
You can, you have the microphone now.
Okay. So I live on, as I said, Graham and First, and there's a new owner of an apartment building on First and Graham, and there's a very ugly sign that has been put up. And I've talked to a number of people, and I said I was coming over here tonight, and they said, would you please challenge that sign? There are many other things I would like to challenge about the people who bought that building, but that is the one thing that I think legally that can be challenged. It is a big sign. It's an ugly sign. It's only on one side it has the sign, and it looks like it's way too high. It seems like it's a very high sign, and we're questioning its regulation.
So I did get some emails about this and forwarded them to our code enforcement person who is here tonight. Apparently, we do have a law on the books that calls for a certain amount of square footage. Scott, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah.
Could you come to the microphone? Thank you. This is Scott Brescher, our code enforcement officer.
In the ordinance, it's, I'm just pulling it up. There is a section in there for apartments and signage, okay? It's ordinance 230, 135H, section 2. Okay, it says what size it can be, and that fits within the parameters of the ordinance that it currently has there. He will be putting some plants and shrubs and things around it to soften it up a little bit, okay? But as far as zoning approval on it, it falls within the ordinance. Well,
So we have been hearing the comments from neighbors on that particular apartment building, and there's another one on the north side of town as well. One of the things that we can do, Scott, is talk with the zoning officer and the zoning board and see if that particular ordinance needs to be updated if necessary.
Yeah, I already spoke to the zoning officer.
Okay.
Have some discussion about that.
Very good. Thank you. And I want to thank both you and Ms. Scooter for your commitment to gun safety. We do have one or two ordinances on our books about gun control here, and I know Councilman Fine has been working very hard with I think it's coming out of Human Relations Commission to talk about additional gun regulations here, particularly on semi-automatics. So thank you. All right, may I have a motion? Oh, first I'd like to have a motion to table consent agenda items 23 and 27.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Did everybody weigh in on that one? Okay. He said aye. He said aye, thank you. May I have a motion to adopt all of the stored items except for the two that were just tabled, and they are numbers 13 through 22, and then 24 through 26.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Erickson?
Yes.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt or reject item number 816-233, Clean Communities Grant? Motion to adopt or reject?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Erickson?
Yes.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz.
Yes.
All right. I am appointing the following people. H. James Polos as our OEM coordinator in emergency management, Pandora Scooter and John Marin to the Arts Commission, Tara Canavera to Recreation Advisory Committee, Sylvia Hove to the Community Food Pantry, Sylvia Hove to Highland Park Gives a Hoot Committee, and Dan Bianchini to the Digital Data Task Force. May I have a motion to confirm?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Erickson?
Yes.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay, any public discussion?
Herb Groves, Adelaide Gardens. Madam Mayor, last month, there was a picnic held at the Roosevelt Center for all the veterans. There were many veterans and their families from Highland Park that attended. There were many veterans and their wives, families that attended from all over the state of New Jersey. This is a yearly event to honor my brothers and my sisters, your sons, your husbands, your families that are up in age, that were disabled, wounded in action. Again, I say these are my brothers and my sisters, your sons, your husbands, your wives, your families. This is a yearly event that the veterans hold, but you do not have to wait to get down to Roosevelt Center in Edison to honor all these veterans. You can stop down there any day, any weekend, and just say hello, thank you, and the veterans would really appreciate that. I would like to say one thing to commend our commander, Bill Young, who has done a wonderful, wonderful job, and to Bobby Porter. And again, I say, you don't have to wait to get down to Roosevelt Center. You can go down there any day of the week. The veterans would appreciate that.
That's very
Thank you.
nice to hear. Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Mayor, can I say something?
Certainly.
In addition to that, this month, the Place in the Park is being dedicated to all service members. So anyone who served in the Korean War, World War II, any one of the service, any of the armed forces, this month, the Place in the Park is free for all family members and anyone who have served. I reported on that last month, so that's just in addition to. So we acknowledge and we support all our veterans. And that information was sent to our veterans home here in Highland Park, and the entire mayor and council support all the veterans.
Thank you. Okay, we're doing something a little different tonight. Excuse me?
I think Ms. Bickard wants to say it.
Oh, Ms. Bickard, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Certainly, please step up to the microphone.
Bruce Bickard, 307 Magnolia in Highland Park. Number 11, what do you mean by a drug-free school zone ordinance?
Okay.
How can you create that?
Okay, it's, actually, this is an amendment to the existing drug-free school zone ordinance that we have. Councilman George, you spoke to that very well earlier today. Would you like to answer that question?
With your permission, Mayor? A long time ago, the legislature amended the drunk driving law and the criminal laws against possession of drugs or selling them in certain areas to increase the penalty and make it a more serious violation if it was done in a school zone. But part of that was the law required that the very specific area of 1,000 feet around a school, a church, or some other institutions be very carefully delineated, because the criminal law requires a very specific knowledge and notice of what's prohibited. This amendment is basically an amendment which cleans that up with some information from the borough engineer. It's been on our books for a long time. It's required in order to increase penalties for drunk driving in a school zone or something. But because you have construction work or fences change, and we built the middle school a couple years ago, all of the county prosecutor's offices in the state just sent out standard updates to say, have your borough engineer clean this up so we have the most current version on law, and that's all this is doing.
Interesting. Good, glad. I believe that there is an ordinance about the height of fences that people can put up around their properties.
Okay.
Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Well, somebody on Magnolia and Fifth, I think it is, put up a huge 5-foot fence right around the corner of the property. And I was walking south, and a car was coming towards me, and very carefully was totally blinded and nearly had a collision with a car coming in from Meriton Avenue coming south. Somebody might want to take a look.
Mr. Brescia, would
That
you?
fence will be coming down within the next week, and a 4-foot fence will be installed.
Somebody else already saw it, okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please, if you're hiding behind someone, stand up so I can see you if you want to come up.
Mayor, if I can interrupt that, I just want to say there's flyers here for Tiger Arts and also for the first annual Caribbean Festival to be held in New Brunswick on August 27 from 1 to 6 at Livingston. I want to put these out. I'm sorry, Mayor, I forgot, but I want people to know about them.
Okay. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to do something a little different tonight. As we advertised through the agendas and also on Facebook, we have been talking about some environmental investigations that need to occur on the Buckwoods property in town. And I wanted to make sure that as many people as possible could hear about what's going to be happening before it actually happens. I had the opportunity with Councilman George and Council President Welkowitz to meet with first the neighbors that live within 200 feet of Buckwoods to explain what's happening in their area and get input from them. And then also with members of the Environmental Commission and the Shade Tree Commission to talk about what's going to be happening there and get their input as well. And just so you know, the courts are now involved in this negotiation with the property owner and his ability to do the soil testing on his property. And at this point, I'd like to turn this over to our attorney. And Mr. Schmier, do you need the chart, or you have?
I have it over there.
Okay, great. He'll be presenting what is happening.
I have a plan of the Buckwoods and the proposed environmental testing. I thought it'd be helpful if we put that up.
Mr. Leslie, is that in a good spot for you to show our viewers? Okay.
Thank you. As the mayor introduced me, I'm your borough attorney, Ed Schmier. I usually sit right there, I'm real quiet, and keep the mayor out of trouble. And tonight, she's asked me to review with you what may be occurring on Buck Woods. And if you're not familiar with Buck Woods, you would just go out the back door, turn right, and at the end of 6, you would walk into Buck Woods. It's a about 4.5 acre parcel of land at the end of the street that doesn't go through. This is 6th right here. This is where Graham comes in, Graham Street. Doesn't go through, because there are houses up here, but it doesn't go through. So this is called Buck Woods. It's named for the former owner. There's a fellow who owned the Buck Construction Company. And for years, this was his property. So I guess the name is stuck and we call it Buck Woods. The property is privately owned by a group called the JSM at Highland Park, LLC. It's a development company. And they've been trying for a number of years to develop this parcel for homes. This is zoned residential. And currently the zoning, you can see if you came up and looked at the map at the end, if you care to, you can see a bunch of little lines. And the zoning would permit single-family homes on 5,000 square foot lots. Little guys, 50 feet wide. They're pretty deep, but they're 5,000 square foot lots. And they've been attempting to develop this property for about 4 or 5 years. When they first came in to see our former construction official who oversees giving out permits to remove trees, their initial plan was to remove 90% of the trees on this property so that they could test for any environmental problems. They believe that there are some environmental problems because we know anecdotally over the years some construction debris was thrown into the ravine on this property. This property slopes like this. This is the bottom, and you have the sides on either side, and pretty steep slopes in some of this area. So we do know from the old construction company and others that there was construction debris thrown in here. When Raritan Avenue was redone a number of years ago in the 70s, they dug down to get out the old trolley tracks and the creosote wood that held those. Some of that was thrown into this area as well. So the owner of the property, before they can determine what, if anything, they can do with the property, needs to test it. So they came in to get the permit to take a majority of these trees down. All these little circles represent the trees that are out there. And the construction department refused to give them a permit to take down the trees. And we've been in court ever since. I think for about 5 years now, we've been fighting over, we don't want you to denude this property and take all the trees down. As the mayor indicated, recently this case has been assigned to a judge over in New Brunswick. And the judge has urged us to try to work out a compromise to allow some testing to occur on the property, but not take down all the trees. And the judge directed that the owner of the property prepare what's called the Environmental Investigation Plan. That's what this is called. And this plan provides that the center of the property, which is the bottom of the ravine, where the borough has a 30-foot wide easement. In other words, we have a right to go through this property. And at the bottom of this ravine, there are water pipes, there are sewer pipes, and there's stormwater pipes. We have the right to have them there. So the judge said, put together a plan that would be as least disruptive to Buck Woods and take down the least number of trees. This is the plan. This plan proposes to take down 72 trees, which are listed here. The location of the trees are in this area, 30 feet wide. And the property owner would have to access the property coming in off of South 6th Avenue this way and work his way down and work his way back. He's not allowed to go up the slopes. He's not allowed to take down any trees outside of that corridor. In order to make sure that that's all the trees that came down, because again, before there was a proposal to take down 90% of the trees, we would work out a consent order with the court, and we would require certain things to take place. For example, this corridor, 30 feet wide, there would be snow fencing put on either side so that the equipment that would roll in down here would have to stay inside that corridor. So we can't go straying up or straying down. We would also tag every one of the trees that are out there to make sure that we know which 72 trees are coming down. We would have the developer post an escrow, and our engineer would be there on site every day that they're working, and also their environmental engineer would be there. So we would have 2 representatives of the borough on site while this work is going on. And we would estimate that the work probably would take somewhere about three weeks to a month, but we're not quite sure how, depending upon weather, it would take to take down the trees and then take soil samples as they went along. And as they did this, our folks would be watching them to make sure that they stayed within that corridor. Now, it's possible after they study this corridor, if they determine that there is pollution or construction debris in this area, and they dig out this far and they don't find it all, they would come back with an amended plan, so it might have to be bumped out a little bit, and some more trees may have to come down. But we would then take that as the second step if we had to expand the area that would have to be investigated. They could only do this work during the weekdays. They'd have to adhere to our noise ordinance. As the mayor said, we had a good meeting about a week ago this time with a number of neighbors who live on either side of this property and answered a number of questions. It certainly will be more disruptive than not doing anything. And, you know, construction trucks and so on going in and out of there will be an annoyance for a period of time. But we think this would be a reasonable way to allow the owner to figure out what, if anything, they can do to develop their property. And then if they want to pursue a development application, everybody would be notified and our planning board would consider that. But right now, we think rather than losing the majority of those trees, we would just be limiting the number of trees that would come down. I should also mention that if there was any development on the property, or if they abandoned the idea to develop the property, as Mr. Williams knows, we have a tree replacement ordinance in town. So those 72 trees, or maybe more than 72 trees, depending on how big the trees are, would have to be either replaced or contribution made to the shade tree fund, and we would put trees in elsewhere in the borough. So sooner or later, these trees come down, new trees are going to grow up. There will be trees put in. And if he pursues a development application to build homes in here, after taking down more trees for that purpose, he eventually has to put other trees back up or pay us money to put trees elsewhere in the borough. So I think the governing body wanted everyone to know via the television and also the residents that this may occur. We have to go back to court on the 19th of August to explain our position and our willingness to cooperate to this degree. We believe it's a reasonable plan. We would hope the developer will accept it. But before anybody heard, tractors or anything firing up one morning, the mayor and council wanted everybody to really know what's going on Buck Woods and have an opportunity to ask us any questions. And we'd be happy to answer any questions if you have those.
Does anybody have any questions about this? Can you speak louder or come up so that people can hear you?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed.
I just want to, of course, you always worry about the slippery slope. So how many houses are they eventually talking about having there?
Well, the zoning, if you take a look at all the little lines, okay? The zoning would permit up to 26 houses to be built. Now, we know that there are some wetlands on the property. We know that there are steep slopes on the property, and we regulate what you can do, particularly on slopes greater than 25%. There was a development proposal a number of years ago before our steep slopes ordinance, and that development proposal was not approved. So this is the first step. We don't believe that the testing would allow, and I don't think the developer believes the testing would allow every inch of this property to be developed. But right now, the current zoning with a bunch of these small lots going down there, you count them up, there's a possibility of 26. We don't think the property will support 26. I think it'll be some number less than that.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Schmier, thank you so much for that summary. Mr. Brescia, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
No, he pretty much covered it very well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Seeing no further questions, may I have a motion to adjourn to conference in the conference room?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call. Or all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.